Heaven and hell are right here. Behind every wall, every window. The world behind the world. And we're smack in the middle. Angels and demons can't cross over onto our plane. So instead we get what I call half-breeds. The influence peddlers. They can only whisper in our ears, but a single word could give you courage or turn your favorite pleasure into your worst nightmare. Those with the demon's touch, like those part angel, living alongside us. They call it the balance. I call it hypocritical bullshit.
So you just saw that Constantine clip. Hopefully it's still in. Now what you're going to see now is just me theorising. Don't take it as fact. But some intriguing things I found, and well, let's just go through it. So the mysterious 8th order of angels, said to be gentle, the Grigori, were created by God to be earthly shepherds of the first humans and to guard them, basically. They were known as the Watchers. I wonder who they were guarding us from. Was it ourselves or was it something else? Who knows? So this is what I'm thinking. So the Grigori went on to teach humans the secrets of heaven, such as astrology, cosmetology, gemology, weaponsmithing, amongst many, many things. Now, for these sins, they were expelled from heaven, hunted down and punished. Now, this got me thinking. Could the sins, what I've been talking about in this video so far, be originally virtues, but they changed allegiances when they fell from grace for the sin of showing or teaching man? Because it just seems funny that the 7 cardinal virtues to match the 7 deadly sins. And I mean, some say back in medieval times that there was actually 8 deadly sins. But hey, let's just go with this. It just seems funny that they match each other. So when they fell or swapped allegiance, did they change from chastity to lust? Who knows? But it got me thinking like a film. So did evil, the devil, propose to the Grigori? Hey, fellow fallen brothers, would you like to get back at dad by corrupting us, the humans? Basically, just makes you think, doesn't it? And or could it have been something like the clip was on about, or when they came into the daughters of men, their offspring became the sins, like half-breeds, like the clips from Constantine talks about. Just really gets me thinking. And that's all I ever want, just to think. Maybe I think too much. I mean, when you start looking at verses like this, and I've talked about this many times in videos, I'm going to show some clips from this anyway to get you into the mood to show you. And it says, and the angels which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, he hath reserved in everlasting chains under darkness unto the judgment of the great day. Jude 1:6. Now, I theorise, could, and it is a big could these everlasting chains that they're talking about be the Leylines? Interesting, isn't it? I mean, when if you've watched the Pope's Exorcist, he talks about casting them out into the earth, and I'm going to show you a quick clip on that, and then I'm going to come back and then show you a clip which it'll go into all the etymology and different things and some theories on the Leylines that I don't want to talk about now, and it'll paint a picture. So hopefully you're going to enjoy this, and hopefully you take it on board, because it's given me wow, it's given me the chills, and I'll get to that soon.
Per noi invece è una manifesta realtà. 200 angeli caduti, espulsi dal paradiso, trascinati sottoterra. Non è una favola.
So there's that clip where they talk about driving the fallen beneath the soil, where they belong, where God is not welcomed. Now, does that not sound like the energy lines, the ley lines of this world? And like I've talked about in all the videos, that could these ley lines, these lie lines, be the fallen evil? And this is where we get influenced, where they whisper. Now, what's coming up now is a clip from the video where I was looking at the ley lines, and I go into a little bit of detail on the etymology and breakdown, just from my own perspective and, you know, on what I see. But it'll start to paint a picture of what and why I'm talking about this again, because it's just been on my mind for a while, and I came to a conclusion and something when I was just quickly researching this, which I'll go into after you saw this next clip. What you are seeing here is Brendan the Navigator, otherwise known as Brendan of Clonfert, and in the game you have to go around to megalithic structures and you have to match images on a stele that are painted on the statue in a certain angle, and you basically meditate and earn some energy and point it goes through you. It's like a ley line. Now, during the 6th century, the Irish Celtic monk and sage Brendan of Clonfert encountered numerous standing stones in England, Finland, which is America, and the Isle of Skye, which had been engraved with mysterious symbols from an ancient script. He made writings documenting these findings and left them behind in each location. And what you're coming up here is quickly his voice in the game describing one of these.
Here in the ancient kingdom of Kent, the Jutes have brought me to where his fire burns through traces of the Nephilim. Here the Lord speaks to me again. He warns of betrayals, of struggles, of the trials of the first ones. I do not always understand his message. If he is warning me, it is because he believes I am worthy. He says there is one angel still trapped. She who must be released or joined. Must I find her? The kingdom of Bernicia and Elmet have granted me the right to worship here by edict of Yopa of Bernicia. The Nephilim were the only race with the strength to have moved such pillars, with the power of the Lord behind them. But what were they guarding against? Did you command them, Lord? Was it for the sin of people of other times? Was it to keep the demons out? I am proud the Lord speaks so cleanly through my soul here in Reconset. He talks of his instruments and asks that I be one. It appears the Nephilim were at battle here long ago. Against a great tempest, some few protected us. We must honor these ancient paths. I have explained what he left for us here to the Recon dwellers nearby. Blessed be all those who tread in this holy light. I shall inform the local Waffingas that he lives among them through traces of the Nephilim, the giant warriors who fought for God in their ancient time. They have left his presence here on earth for us to absorb his light, the light of angels that have been infused throughout the earth. I feel his power. He calls me my beloved, and I am calmed. I respondeth with my communion, my piety, and become another of his voices.
So a little bit more on this, the fact that I've showed you a few other things that's happened in the game, and basically what happens, you go to these sites, you see these images from Brendan, and you have to match them on the standing stones, and you have to go different angles, angels. You'll get what I'm on about if you've watched my latest video with Ryder. I've talked about it before. Anyway, what's interesting to me is this is a little excerpt from my book by Rudolf Koch. It's on signs, and I'm going to show you the passage first, and then I'm going to show you the signs, and you can see what I'm trying to get at with these symbols. And I'm talking about ley lines, evil spirits, the fallen, and whatever you want to describe these entities as, because again, it's just perception. 2 signs used to exorcise evil spirits. In this case of both these signs, as with the pentagram and the octagram, it is worthy of note that they call for a certain dexterity, and that a clumsy person would unable to draw these. I'll draw them, and the signs in question that is in the book are the following. So, as you can see, these signs are from the book, and they are to ward off evil spirits. What they say is to ward off evil spirits. Again, these are found in the book, but if you remember back just a few minutes to the standing stones and some of the patterns, I'm coming up, I'm going to put some of them at the side, and you can just see how lifelike they are. So there you go. On the right is the signs, and on the left is from the book. Again, very like at the bottom where it has 4, there's obviously 6, but the one above is nigh on identical, a little bit larger. But you can see why it intrigued me is if in the game, and again, yes, it is a game, but people like to tell me that they hide things in plain sight, and they love to use games, movies, books, you name it, to show you their message. So why can't this be what I'm trying to get at? The patterns are very nigh on identical. And if we go on a little bit further, I'll actually show you what is said at the pattern to the top right. So let's just go to it, and as you can see, these are again the pattern, and it says, and this is what Brendan says at this site, and that is the image. I have come upon these ancient timbers, tarred for preservation, to mark my sacred symbol and pinpoint the source of their power. Talking about the energy being the spirits in the ley lines. As I pray on your knees, as I pray, the Lord sends through me the voice of the Holy Spirit. It reverberates with the finery of ancient language, and I am in you. Were these timbers carried by the Nephilim, barriers against invasions from afar? Please, Lord, let this truth shineth upon me as bright as your word doth. Brendan of Clonfort, and this is in the game. So those symbols match, and from the book of signs, they said they're warding off evil spirits, and they're appearing on ancient standing stones. Now think about it, they used to paint these symbols. Obviously they might not be, well, some of them are not on stones, and I've always talked about this. Could these standing stones have been what these images are trying to portray, that these symbols, these cymatics, these sound patterns made into a medium, which are sigils, and are put on standing stones because they are focusing the power on those lines. And yes, this is a game, as I'm saying, but it's making perfect sense to me compared to what I've been talking about in the videos of the Lords of the Electric, or the Electric Lords, about energy lines. It's just absolutely like clarity I'm getting on these, and putting some research together from playing old games and finding stuff that intrigues me and hopefully intrigues you. Because look, Brendan of Clonfort was a real person. Now I don't know if he left these signs for real. I know he did leave etchings, but these people in this game are trying to show you something. So and it's back to today, it's not an old clip now, but as I'm looking and remembering, I found this where when you just been watching that clip and it's talking about the glyphs, the energy lines and spirits, I come across this opinion, and it says sin is a spirit, just like there is a spirit of infirmity, a spirit of addiction, a spirit of murder, a spirit of paedophilia, a spirit of lies, a spirit of sexual immorality, a spirit of deceit or corruption or theft, etc. Every and all sin carries with it an evil spirit. So like I'm talking about an influence, an energy. Remember, energy is not supposed to die, it's supposed to transfer or change. So if they were cast out, were they changed into what we class as the 7 deadly sins and these influences? Again, this is just me what ifing and just thinking in out loud, but what more can I do? So now the rest of the clip where I actually talk about the ley lines and the etymology of that and a few other things. Right guys, so guys, you know I love giving you some wows. Some people hate it, I don't know why, but anyway, so it got me thinking about ley lines, and I've talked about this in the the actual electric Elohim, the Electric Lords. Could they be lying about it? Could these ley lines be actual prison, the grid to keep the spirit, the energy in and holding it, basically grounded? So let's have a look at the etymology of a few words. So this is just a generic map with some of the ley lines of England put on it. And I know a lot of people do some videos on ley lines, but I like to look at things a little bit differently. So Lee or ley, as you can see at the bottom, is Lee. And that got me thinking, Lee, Lilu, the fifth element, a supreme being. And they've named it Lilu. So back onto this. So a supposed straight line connecting three or more prehistoric or ancient sites, sometimes regarded as the line of a former track and associated by some with lines of energy and other paranormal phenomena. Origin Ley, 1920s. So that got me thinking. I swear I remember talking about it in a very, very old video, that Leylines actually is related to a lie. And lo and behold, I just put ley in, and you know, the etymology, and as you can see, ridge left at the edge of a ploughed field, ley, and then English, obviously that language again, English that I've talked about. Old English, ledge, fallow, recorded in Lachog, ridge left at the edge of the ploughed field, related to ley, and I'll highlight it and I'll zoom in and magnify, lie. A lie line. And as you know, lie means telling something false or portraying something as false. It also means bed, obviously lying. So that's an intriguing connection, obviously, because I've talked about how we die every night and we lie down. Are we contributing to this ley line when we sleep? Who knows? Again, so that is lie lines. Why they're lying? What is the lie? So that got me thinking. We're talking about ley lines, energy harvesting, energy grid. But there's also another type of an electric phenomenon that is mentioned when you research, and here's the map of it. Now some will say there's 12, some will say there's 10, but it's what is known as the vile vortices. Now they are locations around the world that display a phenomenon that science so-called cannot put into words, and weird as I say, shit happens. Now in a very old post on social media many years ago, some of these enough all of those locations, there is what I call like harp locations, or an energy weapon or frequency at all of these locations that I found, and I posted them on social media. Some of the people that's followed me for a long time will know I did this post. So vile vortices. So what does vile vortices actually are? So as I was saying, paranormal regions sometimes are also known as vile vortices or devil's graveyards, bordered by sides of a triangle whose points are fixed at these three places. Remember, the divinity is shown by the triangle. Also in that video that I've not long done, the triangle was with the VIR for Ohm's law. So what does vile mean? Why call it vile vortices? An objective, vile, comparative adjective. So it's extremely unpleasant. He has a vile temper. Similar to foul, nasty, unpleasant, bad, disagreeable, horrid, horrible. Morally bad, wicked. As vile, as rogue as ever lived. Archaic or little worth of value. All the feasts that thou hast shared erewhile to mine shall be but vile. From Latin, vilis, of low value. Low value. And these are energy locations, and we've talked about the fallen being grounded to this realm, and they've known that these locations, obviously, that you can see on the map around this realm, weird shit happens. But look at the word vile. It has an EL on the end. So I thought, you know what? Could we not say vile? VIEL. Vile. What would that mean? Well, vile, if we split it into two, vi in Latin is the ablative of vis or force. This makes a handy prefix also mean with violence. and you shouldn't run from that meaning. Force. VI is meaning force. Vile, EL, something divine. Elohim, the fallen, blah blah blah, that I've talked about. Basically also the word for a god. Vile means force of God. And on this realm, at 10 or 12 locations, they're known as the vile vortices. Energy phenomenon. Just wow, just struck it out of the park again, and I get really excited. But remember, one, as I just showed you, paranormal region known as vile vortices or devil's graveyards. If only someone did another form of devil. What would DEV mean? Wow, borrowed from Sanskrit, God the celestial one, devil the celestial one. But look, if you merge them, like I did with that Devia, look at the word vile, remember? VI. Viz, but also VI. So dev, DEVI, devil, force of the celestial one. Just wow, I'm getting the goosebumps, the tingling. My last video I talked about how these energy lines could be Leylines, and they're there to trap and keep the fallen there. They are grounded, and now I've just shown you devil could be the force of God, the celestial one, the vile vortices. Why call it vile? And all that goes with that. Guys, just wow. I'm going to leave that with you. What can I say to that? So, with what you've just seen and heard about vile vortices and the Leylines, what other name do Leylines go by? Now I'll give you a few seconds. I'll do some funky dancing behind closed doors that you can't see. So I'm dancing here. I'm not. So come on, what other name? And a little clue, you'll see on screen. Yeah, dragon lines. So ley lines, another word that's used around the world for ley lines, is dragon lines. Now when I heard this, I remembered a verse that I've used in other videos. It blew me away because it's just telling you what I'm telling you in this video about ley lines. We got it all wrong. Now read this out and tell me I'm not right to think how I'm thinking. So this is Revelation 20. And I saw an angel coming down out of heaven, having the key to the abyss. Remember, we're in a cave. Remember, etymology tells you that. And holding in his hand a great chain. Those are the ley lines. He seized the dragon, that ancient serpent who is the devil or Satan, and bound him for 1,000 years. Right there, it's telling you why call them dragon lines all around the world. They bound the dragon to the earth. It's telling you. I'll show you another one. Tell me what this means. The Lord said to Satan, "Where have you come from?" Satan answered the Lord, "From roaming through the earth and going back and forth in it." Again, wow. So I'm right. Well, the theory's good anyway. It's telling you the dragon is bound to the earth, and those are the ley lines. It's telling you from roaming through the earth and coming back and forth in it. So it's telling you he's roaming in the earth and going through it with the ley lines, the energy lines. It's the energy from the fallen. So you just saw all this, and we're back to today again. Hello. And this is just what sent chills down me. Now, when people talk about things, they go, there's no such thing as a coincidence. So when I find something, they go, oh, well, that's just a coincidence. It's funny, isn't it? There's coincidence when the information you put forward doesn't vibe or relate or what people don't want it to be, you know, this factual, it's not factual, but you know what I mean. It's when you put something forward, it's coincidence. When they put something forward, there's no such thing as coincidence. It's they're changing the narrative. So as you can see on the screen, just any image of the vile vortices. Now, you remember when I told you about people say there's 12, but then there's 10, and so we'll go with 10 because what I found next, just it's give me the chills. So we talked about these locations all around the world called vile vortices. You saw all the etymology, you saw all the energy lines seeping, Leylines seeping in and from these locations. So these are like the power station to all the ley lines that's going about. Ley lines lie, sleeping, cast down, stored within the earth, and this is where the energy, because it never dies, is emanating all around us. But this is what blew me. So as you can see, there's 10 locations there now, and we talked about the fallen, talking about the watchers. Then I came across this. What do I label this as? Not like the last video, is it? I'm not allowed to say information anymore. There's no such thing as coincidence. So what do you make of this? So I've talked about the watchers, the Grigori, whatever you want to call them, devil Leylines. And it talks about, here you go, it's from R.H. Charles' translation from the Book of the Watchers. And it talks about, these are the leaders of the 200 angels that are turned into fallen angels due to their taking wives, mating with human women, and teaching forbidden knowledge. But look right at the top, and I'll highlight it and I'll zoom in. They're called the Chief of Tens. 10 vile vortices, and the chiefs of the fallen are called the Chief of Tens. Now, doesn't matter if, and it could be that there's not 10. Why say 10 then? And this is the coincidence, if you believe in it. 10 vile vortices, 10 triangles, 10 divine. Remember, triangle is also a symbol for divine, or an El, or Elohim. So there's 10 triangles, and it's a strong shape as well, as you know. And there's 10 of them. And there was 10, the Chief of Tens. They were called the Chief of Tens. Does this mean that when I'm talking about these locations that they are the fallen? Each one of these locations is one of the Chief of Tens. That just blew me away, just thinking of it like that. And I just had to create a little video just to show you that, because I got giddy. Because like I said, I've put videos in this already when I talked about the ley lines and things like this, and are we in a simulation, are we in a cave, and different things. Are we in where the fallen beneath the soil, where is a cave? Beneath the soil. So are we in Tartarus? So it just blew me away that when these angels, these fallen angels, were chained, so they were chained. And this is the repercussion, that when we walk through these locations, when we go in these locations, weird shit happens. It's just a theory, but hey, why call them Chief of 10? Chief of Tens, and there's 10 bloody vile vortices around this realm. That to me is a huge, as I say, wow. So after that wow, well, hopefully it was a wow for you. I just fancied, you know what, let's still be on the topic, but let's look at things a little bit different. Let me look at some anagrams of 7 deadly sins and some other links that I can find to that. So I want to do a few out and see what you guys think. Hopefully I don't balls it up as usual. What's ironic is you can see a picture of Disneyland. Most places where you think the 7 deadly sins would hang out. Well, what's funny is you can anagram Disneyland from, you got it, 7 deadly sins. Obviously it doesn't use every letter, but you get the meaning. It's just ironic. I mean, other things were like diseased, enslaved, evilness, you know, just a few. I mean, there's hundreds and thousands permutations, but that's just what, you know, screamed out at me while I was making this video. One that includes near enough every letter bar the Y is this one, and people who followed me for a while will think how ironic and wow this is. Basically, the 7 deadly sins could spell anagram Dad's 11 sins. And as you watch my channel enough, you see I do talk about the number 11 quite a lot. So Dad's 11 sins, I've talked about could the 10 commandments be, you got it, 11 commandments. So that was ironic and an eye-opener for me. Some other ones, but not to every letter. There's a few letters missing. There was devil's DNA sense, and then devil saneness. And as you know, saneness is like a lucid state of mind. So those were some intriguing odd bits to put in the video. I just thought, you know what, I'll just put them in to break it up. So looking at this video, I'm talking about the deadly sins, 7 deadly sins. I was just thinking, what are they in Latin, for instance, because that is also used in films as the devil's language, the angelic language. So what is it in Latin? So envy in Latin is invidia. Now straight away some of you out there will recognise that slightly, but we'll get to that. But in Latin, invidia is the sense of envy, looking upon, associated with the evil eye. To look against, to look in a hostile manner, that's envidia. Now envy is the vice most associated with witches and magic, according to the information that I found. So what blew me away was, obviously, what company name, famous company is this? Nvidia, you take away the I, it's Nvidia. And looking into this, they got their name from Nvidia. And have a look at the logo. It's an eye. So it's basically envy. This is envy. And what is always that saying? Admit it, you're green with envy. So envy is associated with the colour green because you're green with envy. And look at the colour of what they basically the logo and they decided to go with. It's green. So envy is Nvidia in Latin, and the company, a famous company, Nvidia, is basically named after envy. That was a wow to me. So next on, lust in Latin is luxuria, and obviously the life, that materialism of this life, you know, the luxury, the money, the wealth, that is lust. Crazy, isn't it? Never thought of that. Pride in Latin is superbia, superb. So we're getting a lot of language letters and etymology from English words hidden in the Latin words for the 7 deadly sins. Superb. Wow. So greed in Latin is cupiditas, cupiditas. Yes, Cupid. Latin cupido started out as a near synonym of cupiditas, cupiditis. It's like arthritis. But it just made me laugh. I'm like, wow. So it came to stand for the personification of specifically carnal desire. Wow. Cupiditis. And that is greed, but also is associated with lust. I must admit that, you know, from what I've been reading up. Here's an interesting one. Wrath in Latin is iram. Now there's loads on these things that you can find. I can't put everything I found, and it just what took my, you know, my wowness. So iram comes from ira or ira, Hebrew origins, found in both the Torah and Bible. The name translates to watchful. The term for watcher is from Aramaic phrase IYR and means wakeful one, watcher or angel. Yes, Iram, Ira, IRA comes from IYA. So wrath can be traced to watchful or angel or wakeful one. Again, how wow is that? And plural, if you did more than 2, of ira is iras, which means anger. So that cannot be a coincidence, can it? So, which is wrath. Well, one part of wrath. So, I'll carry on. Gluttony in Latin is gula. Obviously, the gullet. But, and here's the but, there's some other things I found on it that just blew me away. So, gula. Gula is also known as Ninkarak, is an ancient Mesopotamian goddess associated with healing, health and well-being. In Sumerian and Babylonian mythology, she was considered a prominent deity with a focus on medicinal and therapeutic aspects. Gula was often invoked for protection against illness, and her worship involved healing rituals and prayers for well-being individuals. But when I was just researching for it, it also said the other side of the coin. Gula was believed to be able to use illness as a punishment in addition to healing them. So she had a nasty side. So there's some intriguing things it's turning up in the Latin names for the 7 deadly sins. So sloth in Latin is desidia. Now, I don't know if this is correct, it's just what I found, so it's just information, so I am open to be wrong. There is a Isaac desidia, is a recurring supporting character in the Divine Comedy, you know, from Dante. She is the youngest of Lilith's sisters, the wife of Belphegor, mother of Caliban, and the matriarch of the Desidia family. So that's intriguing, isn't it? Now, in Kabbalah, there's a Isis Zinonun. She's a feminine personification of sin. So, again, these coincidences, as I call them, could it be the one in the same person? You know, where they got inspiration. Now, what got me is Dante imagines purgatory in his, in his Divine Comedy as being divided up into 7 terraces, and each one corresponded to a vice or the deadly sins. And that got me thinking, it sounded crazy, but like the 7 days of the week, 7 days of the week, you know, creation was 6 days plus a day of rest, and we're talking about the 7 deadly sins, and some said it was 8, but could it be like days of the week, like the terrace of purgatory? Because a lot of people have commented on my videos and that, talking about how we're living in purgatory. So that's intriguing. I just thought, you know what, I have to include this to see where it goes. There's some few intriguing wows it was put in there. Hopefully you found that the same. Now guys, some of you I have to laugh because it's so funny. Some of you might think I'm going crazy or seeing things, but I just go with the flow. I just treat things, like I said, should I treat things as just information, my old catchphrase. And I just show you what I'm thinking. Whether you're going to like it or not, there's no harm to me. And making this video, I'm looking at different things. It's like ideas are just firing through my brain. So what you can see here is an amulet in ancient Egypt, were both decorative and practical, as they were considered as having apotropic powers to protect or bestow power upon the wearer. So they did believe that this protected them from evil and gave them power. And this is just one. There's so many different ones. As you know, there were different types of amulets. But come on, can you guess what they're called? I didn't know this, and this is what they're called. These are called pectorals. Now, if that rings a bell, that's coming up soon. Well, not soon, but in a sec. So the reason this caught my eye, because obviously researching for this video, the Latin word for sin is peccatum or peccare. Notice something: pectoral and peccatum. So the word for sin, you can shorten it down, is pec. Pecca, peck, Latin sin, commit a crime. But look at the word again, pec atum, the God. So are they talking about atum, creating a sin, doing a sin, committing a crime? What, that's just my breakdown of it. So if you look at the Latin word for sin, it's peccatum or peccare, but pecca means sin. So we're talking about the pectorals as well. because obviously the word pectorals, and obviously here is the pecs on a male. Women do have them too, but you'll see where I'm coming from, and hopefully I don't sound as crazy because it's all tied to sin, or could be. So early 15th century ornaments worn on the breast, from Old French pectoral and directly from Latin pectoral, breastplate. And as you can see on the man, it looks like a chest plate. And remember all those old armours that looked like the pecs and the abs, and you know, could it be that the pectorals are some form of armour? And there's different things I'm going to look at this, because you know me, I don't like just giving myself one option. I'll look at a few. So look at the word pectoral again for the pectorals. Pec means sin, right? So we got that. So pec means sin. Tor, pector. Tor is goal, gate, door, fool. So basically door, a gateway. Intriguing, isn't it? And AL can become EL. So we're talking about the doorway, the gateway to the L's, where the sin is created, or the sin is at the door. Remember in the beginning of the video, the little bit eerie music and different things talking about the sin is at the door. Well, it is in the name, the pectorals, sin at the door of the L's. And I always talk about how we are referred to the L's. So this might start to sound half crazy, but let's read this out. So, finally, be strong in the Lord and in the strength of his might. Put on the whole armour of God, that you may be able to stand against the schemes of the devil. Remember, the devil is tied to the door. Remember, D, delta, and evil is all representing the force, the doorway. Evil at your door. So, for we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers over this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places. Therefore, take up the whole armour of God, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done that, stand firm. Well, pectoral, as you've seen, means many things, but could it be the armour of God? Remember from before, the pectoral and what it meant breastplate, hence why I showed you the armour. Here's another verse. Stand therefore, having girded your waist with truth, having put on the breastplate of righteousness, and having shod your feet with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, with which you will be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked one. So, the armour of the God. Listen to this one. Therefore, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourself with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. It's telling you to clothe yourself. Could it be that literal? Clothe yourself in the virtues, and that will help you to protect you from the sins. The basically yin and the yang, the opposite of that. Remember, the mirror of everything, the dual nature, the 7 deadly sins, the 7 virtues. So do you have to put on protection, like cymatics, like a spell, or is it actual physical? Because if you go back to the pectorals, they are just there guarding the key. And remember, the key is the clavicle. So you remember that video that I did on that, showing you that. So it just intrigued me. It sounds crazy, guys, but I just had to show you, hey, sin is peccator or peck. We have pectorals, and I was talking about the devil being at your door, evil being at your door, and peck means sin, tor means door, and ELs. Could it be something along those lines? I know it sounds crazy, but it's just something I had to get out and show you, because I just think it means something. Whether I've got it right yet, I just don't know. But hopefully you guys can understand why I've put that in. So not long ago, in the last segment, I was talking about how the clavicle is known as the key. And obviously, when we're talking about music, scales, music is key. Literally, key is music. So that got me intrigued when I put this together. So again, this is another black sheep what if. But hear me out first. In Western music, the adjectives major and minor may describe an interval, a chord, a scale, or a key. So let's carry on. So we've also got the key in the clavicle, and this intrigued me. It says, how do you know if a song is in major or minor? If the song sounds bright or happy, uses mostly major chords in it, and generally comes to rest on a major chord, it's probably a major key. Note that most popular songs are in major key. If the song sounds dark and gloomy, uses mostly minor chords, and generally comes to rest on a minor chord, it's probably a minor key. So that's intriguing, isn't it? Like music and different keys can create different frequencies and feelings in us. Major and minor, happy and sad, good and evil, sin. And it just got me thinking, because you don't think sometimes, you take things for granted. And I talk about how we vibrate, haven't I? And how we glow, but we can't see it in our spectrum. And muscles vibrate. So if muscles vibrate, it will create a frequency, a chord. Major and minor, possibly. So when a muscle contracts, these fibers change shape and slide past one another, creating vibrations. It's like plucking a string, and the sound can tell you about the elastic properties of the muscle, says Karim Saber, a mechanical engineer at Georgia Institute of Technology. So your muscles are vibrating with the electric pulses. That's intriguing. So if they vibrate and plunge and create a sound, and sound is a frequency that can create light, is it kind of like the Dune force field from the new films? As when, but we can't see the spectrum. So, it all depends on what input is put into our bodies. That's why the bodies are sacred. They're a temple. Now, why am I going about major and minor and frequencies and the clavicle? Because obviously I've been talking about the pectoral, the pecs. But look what happens with the pecs. They come in two. Pectoralis major and pectoralis minor. So the two keys. The chest, the breastplate, the armour. So could it be a case of whatever frequency and is vibrating through these muscles can open a door? Who knows? But I couldn't resist not showing you this a little bit, because you guys would be thinking it anyway when you saw it.
Yeah, they call me the black sheep. You know they call me the black sheep.
Detective, what if I told you that God and the devil made a wager? Kind of standing bet for the souls of all mankind.
I tell you to stay on your meds.
Humor me. No direct contact with humans. That would be the rule. Just influence. See who would win.
Okay, I'm humoring you. Why?
Who knows? Maybe just for the fun of it, no telling.
Oh, so it's fun. It's fun when a man beats his wife to death. It's fun when a mother drowns her own baby. And you think the devil is responsible. People are evil, Mr. Constantine. People.
You're right. We're born capable of terrible things. But then sometimes something else comes along and gives us just the right nudge.
Well, this has been real educational, but I don't believe in the devil.
You should. He believes in you.
Hello and welcome to freezing cold, snowy the UK. I'm freezing my coconuts off. So out come the monk hood to keep me warm while I film this. So guys, like always, I want to say a big thank you for the love and support. It means so much. And for anyone that has bought me a bar, which is buy me a coffee, here's a QR code right there. Please thank you. Appreciate it in hard times. It is helping me in the channel, really is. So I want to say a big love to you guys. And if you want to do that, remember, just hit the barcode or the description. It's in the description. So just quickly, if that clip has stayed, because you know what YouTube's like, basically, Constantine talks about how God and the devil made a wager, and you couldn't. Basically, we just had to whisper, and that's what I'm trying to get. Whisper, just nudge in a direction. Now that takes into the video what I'm talking about. Are them sins, the 7 deadly sins, actual physical or spiritual entities walking amongst us? I mean, we've seen films and TV series like Supernatural where the 4 horsemen were actually physical beings. Could the spirits, could they just be spirits and frequencies that are in this realm on a circuit board, and we get influenced by them by just walking through them or spending time in them? And if our toroidal field is weak, or we take in food that is containing a Trojan horse, we get influenced by the virus. So it's something that I've been intrigued with for a long time, and hopefully you guys can see what the content I've put in. I mean, I was only talking to Jed the other day about this and what's coming, and we were talking about how what I was saying sounded like the Force, the Force in the Jedi. Now what's funny is, I'll put it on the screen because it's not actually in the video, but in Gematria the Jedi is 731, which is 11. But also what intrigued me is it was also 6 and 1, which is 7, which is the half door, the door ajar, but also 7 deadly sins. And the Force, which is the transition, the energy for all the universe, basically the frequency, whatever you want to call it, that was 11 in Gematria. So I'll put that on the screen as we're talking. So these things just intrigue me, and this is what I was trying to get at in the video, was that if these entities are spirits, are frequencies that, like the Force, or around us, have been banished beneath the soil, we're walking on the soil, the energy is seeping out to these Leylines, and we are walking on them. We are walking through arches that are honing and specifically pushing, that word for push, like for mentalism, we're pushing thoughts onto you. And I told you about the logic gates, how they can change the flow of data, change the state, the mind. Well, think about it. If we can walk through a door and forget, that is like coming through the pubic arch at birth. The amniotic fluid, leaving it, our memories are wiped, and we are walking, well, eventually we walk around in this realm, the realm that some call the death realm, some call purgatory, some call hell. It just intrigues me that when we're talking about these deadly sins being entities, and we see influence in films and opinions talking about how they're not like direct contact, they can just influence us. And what do we have to protect ourselves is the toroidal field, is what people call the armor of God. Now, maybe these people that are influenced to do really evil things, and this is not a cop-out for people who do that and say, well, it's because of spirits, I'm not saying that, because people will try and put things into your voice, but what I'm saying is, if this vessel is weak due to corruption from some sort of sin, more we let in, more is taking the glass half empty, half full type of thing, is the more in, the more evil and deadly things we can become. The frequencies, basically sound, when you hear something so loud and it's tearing at you, it's it's like why I've always said, if you swim in a turd infested pool, you will soon smell like it and taste like it. You become what you eat, and that's why we have to watch what we say, especially on content like this, but also what we watch around us. If that is letting our guard down, if we're becoming more negative, we're watching negativity, it's going to affect you then to leave you open. That's why I always say to people, don't watch all this negative stuff. Don't watch this where people are going out the way to call a channel. It's no good for you in the long run. You are basically taking in the negative spell inside this word of God, and it's changing you. It's festering. Don't do it. You know what I mean? I know in the end of the day, it's up to you. We've all got free will, but why would you want to swim in a turd? You know, don't. It's hard enough as it is in this life. It's really, really hard to navigate as it is. And when we're talking, especially about the sins and Constantine from the film, is talking about, you know, just trying to influence the vessel and the soul. It intrigues me because the old spelling of soul, so the etymology that they use now is S-O-U-L. Well, the old etymology, the old spelling of soul was S-O-U-L-E. So the soul. Obviously, it's got that L on the end again, and it is linked to everything divine. And obviously, it means a soul or a spirit, an emanating force. You know, it can bring things to life. So if you want to influence things in reality, and we have the power to bring things to life, not just through our vocal cords, the voice of God, but also the spirituality using our thought. I've talked about manifesting in reality. So if we can manifest things, like I keep talking about in various videos, both negative and positive, evil would want to try and influence these magic wands. It makes sense to me. The 7 deadly sins could be a force. I've talked in old videos about how, you know, you have the weather maps and they're talking about low pressure. A bar of low pressure is coming down and that will influence the high pressure. And you have all them swirls on it and different things. What if this reality, this chamber, this cave is like that? You have a pressure of evil, negativity, or one of the sins pushing down. It's easily influences. That's why I put it all in. You talk about the Leylines being Leylines. It just makes sense. Again, it's not fact, this. It's just my opinion, my thoughts on the videos that I've done and what is happening in this reality. Because it just makes bloody sense, doesn't it? 7 deadly sins, etymology, an anagram of that, it was Dad's 11 sins. I'm like, whoa. Car's revving its ass off again outside. Yeah, we'll sit in the car just revving it. I'm revving it. So, this is what I wanted to get at the video, just to show an idea that I've had for a long time. I've talked about it briefly in different patches of videos, but putting A, B, C, D together has helped me to formulate and see this realm. I feel this video is like a coming of age video. I don't know, there's just something different about it. I mean, the inspiration for this was, I was watching something on TV, and you know how when things get mentioned in your house, search engines seem to pick up and listen in and suggest things for you to watch. Well, one of them was something on YouTube called The Exorcist, Michael and the Exorcist, and it's basically an interview with an exorcist, and he's talking about sin and different things as being a spirit, and also how when it comes into an environment, it seems to spread within that congregation or with people like a virus. And that's just what this basically video was all about, asking that opinion. Do you think they are spiritual entities, physical entities? Who knows? Because I've always talked about how when, like a lighthouse type of thing, when you have something in you, the lighthouse is emitting it, sending out pulses. And if you've ate something or abided in a sin or something, that like is like a Trojan horse, and inside you it receives that signal and activates something in you. Just an opinion. And I had to just include obviously that thing about the Yoda and different things and the different types of Jedi that there is, and this force is it based on a force? Jedi sounds a bit like Jinn, which is obviously a demon. Is there different types of Jedi, the colours that they use? You know, we're talking about a grey one, which is neither bad nor negative, but is in the middle, but it doesn't follow no doctrine. That's intriguing, like the grey Jedi. Maybe like grey matter that I was talking about not long ago. So what do you guys think? It just intrigued me, and that's why I've put old videos in just to paint that picture. Are we in this circuit board realm? Are we able to walk on these energy lines, these dragon lines? Are they from the fallen, the 7 deadly sins, the chief of tens? I mean, how crazy was that? I got goosebumps when I read that. The chief of tens, and there's 10 of these vile vortices. You saw all the etymology of that energy and linked to the devil and different things. Could that they be places where the ley lines emanate from, like chains, like that Bible verse talks about? And I'm trying to remember it off by head. Is quite hard, but I'll try and find it while I'm on the fly, because I'm a professional, mate. I don't know why I do it sometimes. Ball, learn, write some stuff down, but sometimes it just gets too much. So it talks about all the angels were kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation. He hath reserved in everlasting chains under darkness into the judgment of the great day. To me, that screams ley lines. Does it not? Chains all around this realm, the force, and me talking about were these fallen. Obviously, they were good, virtuous at one time, thought it helped humans and got punished for it. And did they think, fuck it, we're being persecuted for helping who we're here to protect and guard? Let's corrupt this to hurt the creator. You hurt what is classed as his favourite. Makes sense to me. And was that the propose? Come on down, guys. You've fallen. Corrupt these humans. Now, do you corrupt them by, what's that word now? Populating them out, growing it out, mixing your seed. Were they the ones that are half-breeds that had these powers, these sins? Or, like I was just asking the question, did the virtues, the balance on both sides, did the virtues become the vices, the sins? It just excites me. And hopefully that comes across, I don't pretend it to be fact or nothing, but it just intrigues me. And I know I say that a lot, but when you start putting things together, I think it means something. Again, I was emotional with this. I got the chills, I got the tingles, like I was onto something. I mean, come on, the Latin for sin was peccatum. Was it, if I get it right, if I remember? Did I get it right? Yes, I did. I remembered sin, it was peccatum. And that just made me think, oh, peccatum, pecca, sin, pectorals. I'm finding out that the Egyptian word for the amulets was pectoral. Obviously for the region it went, but also it guarded from evil and gave them power. So if these gave us power, why would it give us power? Is it an armour, a breastplate, a chest plate of the armour of your creator, whoever you believe in? Is that what helps us? If you have faith and all these virtues and don't do sin, does it protect you from the reality around you? Is it like a life vest? You're a life vest to use, in water, and you're plummeting down, you're taking on water. Giving this life breastplate, is this what protects you, helps you get out, keeps your head above the water? It's just thought, it's just an idea. When you put all these things together and finding out they're called pectorals, and obviously the pecs are called pectorals, and breaking that down into 3: pec, sin, tor, which is door, and al, which is el. The door, the doorway to the L's, the sin. Is it the sin of the fallen? Is that telling us that evil is at the door? When evil is at the door, put a D for delta, which represents the left, the door. The D, evil, together become devil. People will tell you, I don't believe in the devil. The devil believes in you, according to all the folklore and what information that we can get hold of. Do you believe it is more than one? Remember, more than one is what basically Satan means, adversary. And I don't, adversary could mean just one, but to me it feels more than one. Is it, again, these frequencies, this negativity, is it a wager like the film talks about? I just don't know. I'm winging it. I'm, what people say, making shit up, because I don't know. And I don't pretend to. I'm just looking at things that I've done, coming across, and adding one and one together and getting 2, 3, 4, 5. Camille. Hopefully you can not hear that. Oh. Something just turned on. Oh, I will have to pause this and come back. Right, funny that electrical devices were turning themselves on as I was talking about this. How intriguing. So we just put everything together. So we're talking about the Force, we're talking about Leylines, these energy lines, this grid, and here's me just looking at things, looking at the spells, because we live in a world of spells. It's all magic. And one of the deadly sins in Latin, envy, is Invidia, which is a Roman goddess personification of envy. And it was connected and most associated with witches and magic. And obviously, when you envy, you are green. And then to find out the company Nvidia has an evil eye or an eye and is green, just blew me away. It really did. That was another moment. It's like, how in your face can you get? So they based the brand on envy, based it on a deadly sin. Look at the other ones. Lust is luxuria, luxury items, the materialism, the fight that people have, the lust, the greed, all these 7 deadly sins to get what's the next big thing: the greed, the lust, the envy. Greed, cupiditis or cupitas. Love, why is love evil backwards? Has you in a fever, can make you do stupid things. On one hand, love, nothing is powerful, but it can change and warp you. Is that why there's that dual nature? Gluttony is Gula, finding out there's another goddess from Sumerian times of medicine and healing, but you didn't want to piss her off because she can make you ill as a punishment. Just crazy when you start looking at these things. Wrath was Aram, which is based on Ira, which then looked and spelt angel and watchful and watcher. So straight from the spelling of it, showed you it was a Grigori, was a watcher. Sloth Desidia, it was just wow. Superbia was pride. I just like wow. Then to see that they called the fallen the chief of tens, and there was 10 vile vortices. Again, that another one that had me. So when we're doing things like this, I'm winging it. I'm not pretending to be all-knowing, and I will tell you when the world is this and the world is that. No, I'm trying to navigate it the best I can. And what I put out is just, when I look at something, that pattern, that puzzle to it, I will show you what I find. And then I ask, do you see the same? So it's intriguing. Is there a wager? Are they able to influence and tip us over? Is it, you get to a tipping point. We have things all around us, energy, frequency, and your muscles vibrate and create a frequency. The pecs come in the major and minor. So when there's something battling us, is there a frequency that emanates from us to create us more light or more dark? I don't know, but I just find it fascinating. So I want to cut it short because I wanted the video to speak for itself and me just have a little natter with you guys and see what you think about this idea that the 7 deadly sins spiritually, as spirits or frequency, energy, whatever you want to call them, are amongst us, able to influence these ships, these vessels, influence the captain to steer the ship in a certain location hence all the ties to Leylines, known as dragon lines, the vile vortices. I mean, you have even, like I said, Yoda from Elias Levi. Remember the demon he evoked or talks about? I think it was him, or was it Crowley? One of them, and it looks like Yoda, and I'll show you that on screen. So you have all these links and old pictures of what looks like Yoda as a demon, and people always talk about in Star Wars it's the other way around. The baddies are the goodies, and the goodies are the baddies, and so on. And it's like, well, they're getting influenced by the Force. They take a side. It's this Force that it connects everything in this chamber, this realm, the 7 virtues, the 7 deadly sins, all this energy. It could be the sense of it's not just evil energy that is on these ley lines, but it's actually positive energy. The good and the bad, sure. Or is that above us in the airways? I just don't know, because I'm making this stuff up as I'm going and casting my spell to see what pattern, can come of it. I'm just mind blown when I put everything together. Like the anagrams of 7 deadly sins contains like Disneyland. It's like, come on, you can't get a place more full of the deadly sins. I mean, that would just wow that. And obviously you then had the devil's DNA senses, you had the devil's sameness, you had devil's DNA or the devil's Essenes. There's so many things, and I couldn't show you everyone because they'll be here all day. People will throw out loads in the comments, but you can't keep going through. I just showing you how I think and look at things, and that's what I use. If this realm is data and ones and zeros and is code, cipher, loose cipher. That was an old etymology. Crazy just thinking about it. Are we in a realm where the programs are good and bad and influence us? We have a Taurus field, doorway, and I did all that, the spirit and the OID and what that meant in all videos. You're talking about the pectorals straight underneath the key, and they're your chest plate, your breastplate to help to protect you. It's weird to think about, isn't it? If you have the energy that's coming in you and you're oscillating your muscles, your skeleton, and your skeleton, the bonds, and it is for good. That's what people feel when you want some. If you're in a bad mood or evil, you can feel it, can't you? And it's weird, isn't it? Now I know. It's not like I didn't know before, but when you then go, do, it's like whatever you eat, whatever you're feeding in yourself will just spread through your body. If you're feeding yourself shit, again, you will smell like shit, you'll taste like shit, you'll speak shit. So that's why I say we just have to watch what we drink, watch what we eat, what we take on board, because they are corruptible ships, corruptible vessels. And like that clip from Constantine talking about, God and the devil made a wager. You can't do it, but you can influence. And now is it influence like a wind pushing you in a direction? Go over there. And all videos I've talked about the weather, because remember when you have weather and it's dark, you have that mad syndrome. And I always got to thought that like I've said before, like these frequencies come down like patches, and we've got a patch of luck here today, and a patch of sadness, a patch of fear, a patch of envy. 7 deadly sins, 7 days, purgatory in the Divine Comedy. He talks about the 7 terraces. And could all these realms be merging? And if you oscillate at a certain frequency, you land on the terrace of, one of the sins, sloth, wrath. Food for thought, as I say. So guys, I'm going to go because I want the video to speak for itself. I've waffled on for long. I'll give you a lot of things to think about. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. I've been blown away by what I found and put together for you. Brilliant, guys. I just want to tell you I love you guys. I am the unsociable social media. So I do find it hard because I feel everything, you know. So I'm just like you, great people. I love you guys. So hit the like, hit the share and subscribe. Please tell other people to, you know, check me out. And if you want to help me and the channel, you can just buy me a bar, which is buy me a coffee. And again, the barcode's there and the link will be in the description. So take care, stay safe, and try and always wear a smile. Don't let the bar seals get us down. Right, I'm going. Go on, go. I'm going now. Come on. And stop making a video. I'm going. Bye.